Well, Shemai everyone, how are you all? It seems like an age since I did my last card video. It's been so busy. Obviously, with it being the summer holidays and I'm a teacher, I've been actually labouring at the house build alongside my husband. So time in my craft room has been quite sparse, but I did get some time recently to play with Forever Fern. Now, when I first saw this stamp set in the catalogue, I thought, yes, leaves. And then I started to see some of the stunning cards that people made with it. And I must say, I can see why it's so popular. I want to do it with a bit of a Christmassy, wintry type theme. I started with this card. I made this one quite a few days ago. And I actually used the subtle embossing folder and then did some stamping. And I don't use Highland Heather that much, but I must say I really liked it. And I cut some of the leaves out of vellum, which really give it a nice soft effect. So then that got me thinking to how much I love wreaths. I love Christmas wreaths. So I thought I would make a card using the Forever Fern and make up my own wreath. And I'm going to do it today with some slightly different colours. There's a little tiny fly around. So let me go through the colours I'm using. It's got Highland Heather in it, Coastal Cabana, Blushing Bride, my ink pad, the colour on the top's faded a little bit, Mint Macaroon or Ron, Mint Macaron, and some silver ink. Now, if you haven't got silver ink but you've got silver embossing powder, that would work just as beautifully, but I must be honest, I couldn't be bothered to go and find mine. This Stampin' Up ink, we had this quite a few years ago in the catalogue, and it takes a really long time to dry. So if you have got this one, my advice is stamp out the things you want, then cut them the next day. So as you can see, those colours look so pretty together. So I shall show you what I did. Now, I usually use pre-made card blanks, which is what I've got today, and the first one I did is more of a square of Whisper White, but I cut this one a bit too small. So this one, this fly is determined to annoy me. This one is just short of 6 inches by about 4 3/4. I tend to, if I haven't got to measure things, then I don't, and that's what happened today. So I made my own wreath shape. This won't be seen on the card, but it's just to give me an idea of how to arrange my leaves. And what I did from the Circles collection, now this is quite an old collection, I think they've got a different set now, but I just stuck 2 of them together with a little tiny gap between it, using some washi tape, and that gives you then a bit of a frame. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sort of eye where that's going to be, because I want to stamp some of the dots, what do you call it, like the texture that's going on around. Excuse me. Right then, so I'm going to use, I think I'll use some of the Blushing Bride. Now, my Blushing Bride stamped quite darkly for some reason. Quite darkly, quite dark. So I'm just going to use a pencil, which is probably the one thing I haven't got on my desk, and just make a little mark of where I want my frame to fit back on. I'll put one on the outside as well. There we go. I'm going to move that to one side. I'm just going to stamp that off. And I just want then to put some of these around the outside of my wreath. I think I'll also use Coastal Cabana in a second. Now, I've got a huge pad of grid paper. No idea why I'm using this little tiny offcut. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to clean that one off, and I'm going to use, I think, some Coastal Cabana. Coastal Cabana has to be one of my favourite ink pads. I use it a lot. I'm just going to bring that in now. I'm hoping the lighting is okay because what was quite bright outside, it's cloudy and bright. And because I've got skylights in my attic, it's sometimes a bit hard to control how much light comes in. There we are. So I'm just, as you can see, just not creating a pattern or anything. I'm going to put a little bit of pink in the centre as well. So yeah, as I say, this stamp set didn't jump out at me at all when I first saw it. I just thought, yeah, lots of leaves. And then I started to see what people were making with it, and only something starts to call you and you think, that's really nice actually. So, but I haven't used it a great deal. So that's where my ring is going to go. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue on the back of that. I'm going to use my silicone mat to apply it. These silicone mats are fab because all the glue peels back off it and it protects your workspace from becoming all gunked up with glue. So I'm just going to use my little pencil marks now to line up my wreath shape. There we go. Just pick it up a little bit. And at this point now I'm going to apply it to the Highland Heather mat. I've got a bigger border around this one. Once again, that's mainly due to the fact that I never measure anything. Unless I'm making an interactive card where measurements are really important, then I tend to work by eye, which isn't always a good thing. Because I'm just going to trim some of these edges down now because that's a bit too big a border. And I'm using my trusty old Staples rotary trimmer for this, which I use for all my scrapbooking as well. I love that trimmer. Okay, so that's that part done. Now I'm going to bring in all the pretties. And as you can see, I've just stamped a selection. So I'm going to have my leaves going around the outside. And what I did, I'm just putting glue on the stems because it gives it a little bit more dimension. This would be a card that you would give to somebody by hand rather than put in the post, because the sentiment is a little bit of a banner which I've padded out slightly, and that'll never get through the post without being squashed. So I'm thinking if you're going to make a really dimensional card, you either got to create like a bit of a box envelope or hand deliver it to somebody. There we are. So as you can see, I'm just adding glue to the stems. I need to order some more of my green and white Tombow Mono multi-glue. But I must say this Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue is very, very good because it dries completely clear. And it's got a nice narrow nozzle on it. There we go. The other thing about not only sticking the stems down is that you can tuck other things underneath then. There we are. So have you all started making Christmas cards, or are you sort of putting it off at the moment? I've made a start. I've made a few, but I know that I start off with really good intentions and then I think, oh, I've got plenty of time, and then it all sort of catches up with me. I'm just going to tuck that one under there. I might just move this one slightly back like that, and then I can move this one back as well, because obviously you're going to try and get it to go all the way around. So there's my wreath. Now, as you can see, I've got a couple of pieces of the wreath ring showing, but I'm going to be tucking all these other things in anyway. So I've got some other leaves then, some bigger leaves and some smaller ones, and I'm doing the same sort of thing with it all. Just tucking, putting some glue on the stems and then tucking them underneath. Like that. If you can hear like the bass of music going on in the background, a neighbour is having a wall rebuilt, and I think the bricklayer must be on a little tiny rave as well at the same time, because the music's quite loud. There we are. Just try and tuck that in there. Obviously as well, you need to make sure it doesn't come off the edge of your card. So I'm just going to tuck that one in. Now if you wanted to, obviously you could put some of these on with foam pads. Now I cut this one just out of silver card. I'm going to cut these little pieces off just to make them a bit smaller to put on there. And I'm just going to tuck those in around the wreath as well. But I just love the wintry feel of this. I won't love the wintry feel of the weather, obviously, but I like the effect that is as if it's been touched by frost. There we go. I'm just clipping these apart. There's some lovely, lovely dies in the set. And is very versatile then. It'd be nice for, obviously, I've done the other one I've done here is for a birthday. So you could do it for a birthday. Lovely for sympathy cards. But perfect. Well, you could do it in fall colours as well, couldn't you? Like autumn colours, which would be absolutely gorgeous. And do like an autumn type wreath as well. That'd be lovely for an autumn birthday. So you could do oranges and browns and yellows and reds and do a wreath like that. And then I suppose I like the idea of having Easter wreaths as well, like for graves and things. But you could do a card then in pastels and spring colours. There we go. So I'm just going to tuck all these in now. Like that. And I've used Blush and Bride and Coastal Cabana for some of my foliage. And I think the important thing is make sure you're not sticking it all down really flat. Then I've got some mint macaron and Coastal Cabana little leaves then. Problem is, for me sometimes, is knowing when to stop. Otherwise, this will stop looking like a wreath and start looking like a heap of leaves in the garden or something. And then my sentiment strip, I'm going to just create a little bit of a banner end to them both, like a flag end, I suppose. There we go. The longest part of making this card was stamping and cutting all of the pieces out. So there it is. Now then, to create the end of my banner piece, to go in the centre of my wreath, I know that my sentiment is 1 inch. So I'm going to find 1/2 inch on my ruler. And then I'm just making a little tiny mark with my pokey tool. I'm going to just measure up to make sure I'm coming in about 1/2 inch as well. I'll just go up to that one there. And once again, 1/2 inch. And come up. There we go. Then I'm going to cut to that centre point there. Put your glasses on, Nicola. I don't know why I bother with having glasses on my desk right in front of me. So I'm going to cut from the corners up to that point there. There we go. And the same the other side. And to make mine sort of stand out a bit, I just sort of, this is slightly thicker card than the one I used originally, because I might have to redo this one, because it's not, I don't think this is Whisper White, because look what it's done, it's crinkled it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick the rest on, and I'm going to have to redo my banner. So the photo I put on will be with a new banner on it. So that's why Whisper White is the best, because you can sort of manipulate it without it cracking and creasing. So there's the wreath there, and then I'm going to use some rhinestones just to add a little bit of bling bling bling. There we are, just all around inside the wreath, some on the outside then. And the other thing I've done is I've created a little tiny bow out of some little thin silver ribbon, which I think, I don't know if it was last year, but any ribbon you've got would be lovely. And I'm going to actually stick that on with a glue dot. Now my glue dots are quite big. I've got mini ones around here, but there's so many I can't seem to find them at the moment. And I'm just going to stick that up on the wreath there. And imagine it now with the sentiment going across, which hasn't got a big crease in it. There, like that. And that is my finished card. So as you can see, that one looks really pretty with the Blushing Bride. And you've got this one there, which is actually soft sea foam in this one as well. And then you've got this one there where you add a little bit of vellum. So thank you so much for joining me. As I say, once again, apologies for not being really consistent with my videos at the moment. Hopefully, when this house is done and I've got more time on my hands, I'll be in my craft room all of the time. So thank you for joining me. Take care, everyone. If you're going back to school this week, enjoy, have fun. I'm looking forward to going back to work, and I shall see you soon. Hwyl fawr.